Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and we just got a huge update to a rumor that is suggesting that Nintendo is saving two huge reveals for a big General Direct just a little bit after this supposed partner showcase we're getting later this week. And if this rumor proves to be true, it would have some serious implications for Nintendo's year. It would suggest that Nintendo actually has a very exciting year in store for us fans, and it would go against what some would have you to believe about Nintendo's presence this year. And so today what we're going to be diving into are the full details of this rumor, why it makes sense, why it actually has some legitimate merit, and gives us some serious optimism that it could legitimately be happening, and what this is suggesting about Nintendo's overall 2026, because there are some serious implications here, and I think they are a very big, exciting deal. So that's what we're getting into. Now, before going forward, let me point out I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy my videos, I would very much appreciate your subscription. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the latest rumors, there have been various insiders suggesting that we will be getting a Direct this week. It should be getting announced fairly soon, assuming the rumors prove to be true, but given the amount of insiders have been hearing this, it seems pretty likely. Now, just a couple days ago, various insiders have gotten more clarity on what kind of presentation this is going to be. A partner showcase, which is a smaller Direct focused on just third-party games and not Nintendo-made games. And that does not mean it will not be a good show. The Switch 2 actually has much better third-party support than the Switch 1. We could be seeing some pretty substantial games show up here, like from Capcom, Ubisoft, Square Enix, From Software, Microsoft. There's a lot of potential for some significant games to show up here, and I'm personally very excited about it. However, word of this partner showcase has left many scratching their heads, myself included, because it does feel like Nintendo needs to show off more from their own projects. We don't know about anything too ambitious from Nintendo coming out this year for Switch 2, and we are still very early on to the generation. You would think Nintendo would want to show at least some of their hand to get people excited for the rest of the year and invested in the console and wanting to pick up the console. It would be good for sales. And so if we only get a partner showcase, yeah, that might be confusing for some, because when we take a look at history, typically when we get a partner showcase, it is in replacement of a General Direct, and we won't be seeing a General Direct for a few months, which might mean that if we do get a partner showcase this week, we may not see a General Direct until perhaps June. But we actually got another rumor at the end of last week that is actually suggesting what I've been calling a Nintendo Direct sandwich, and we just got a really big update on this rumor, some significant details here. So firstly, on January 30th, friend of the channel Attack the Backlog posted this: "Do business partners really travel alone?" And you see this image of a partner showcase with Cloud here. Now, for those that don't know who Attack the Backlog is, he is a fellow YouTuber. His channel will be linked in the description below, and he actually has a pretty good track record when it comes to Nintendo Direct information. And by pretty good, I mean 100% perfect so far. He doesn't report on a lot, but when he does report on Direct stuff, it is legitimate, accurate information. He actually was teasing the date for this supposed partner showcase before anyone else. As you see here, he was teasing something happening on January 5th. Notice all the different 5s here. You see 5th here, 5 here, 5 here, or how over here he was being questioned if he's teasing something and he said he had to plead the 5th. This is just one of several examples of Attack the Backlog teasing or literally just telling us what he's heard about a Direct, usually before anyone else. And so here he's teasing something about there being more than just a partner showcase coming up relatively soon. We talked about this last week, but what really got people talking is the follow-up by Nash Weedle, where you see it looks almost like they came up with this idea together, where one would put out one image and then immediately afterwards the other would come up with an image that would tell a little bit more of the story. And so Nash Weedle said, with the Switch 2, we'll walk hand in hand. And so you see Mario, where it shows Nintendo Direct, but not Partner Showcase, clearly suggesting a big General Direct that would have to do with first-party stuff, maybe even also suggesting that a big Mario title would be part of this presentation. And also, by the way, Cloud here could be suggesting we'll hear more about Final Fantasy, perhaps Rebirth, getting shown off for Switch 2 in the Partner Showcase. We'll see on that as well. But Attack the Backlog and Nash Weedle just put out a podcast where they dropped clarification on what they were teasing here. And so this is the full latest update. Attack the Backlog has heard that there is something else after the partner showcase. That is all he has heard so far. So there's a lot of room for interpretation there, but it is something. He's heard about something else, and given what Attack the Backlog tends to hear, it's about direct stuff, and he tends to hear it before others, which is why I pointed out that tease from January before anyone else was suggesting a date. And so this little bit of information seems to be corroborating what Nash Weedle has been hearing. And what Nash Weedle has been hearing is that there is actually going to be a general Nintendo Direct happening fairly soon. How soon? He's not entirely sure yet. He's heard different things, and that could be related to different things happening. He's heard as soon as possibly the 3rd week of February, and if not, it would be in March. But this is something that he is continually investigating and trying to get more clarity on, so as the month draws on, we're expecting more updates and more clarity on when this supposed presentation would be. But it's more than just this that he's heard about. He's heard that Monolith Soft has a big announcement ready for the next General Direct, and we've covered this on the channel, that Monolith Soft is gearing up for something in the next Direct, and now he's providing clarity it would be for the next big General, which makes sense. Of course, it wouldn't be in a partner showcase because Monolith Soft is a 100% Nintendo developer. Anything they make is 100% Nintendo, and I clarify on this because a lot of people get that confused, because if we go many years back, at one point Monolith Soft was not a Nintendo developer, but they've been a complete Nintendo developer for several generations already. But it's not just a Monolith Soft title that he has heard is going to be announced in this next General Direct, but also 3D Mario. 3D Mario is going to be Nintendo's big title for this year. Some people may be in disbelief by this idea because they believe Donkey Kong Bonanza is the replacement for 3D Mario, and 3D Mario would be years away, which I've tried to tell people many times that actually doesn't really make much sense because, one, historically speaking, a mainline Mario title is made available for every new console generation, if not by the first holiday, the second, so this would be completely unprecedented if this does not happen. Not to mention, the 3D Mario team has not put out a game, not counting Bonanza, since Mario Odyssey in 2017. Donkey Kong Bonanza was not the only thing they were able to accomplish in 8 years. Also, when you look at the credits, you can see that several key members of the Mario Odyssey team were not involved with that project. When we go back to the rumors of there being a Donkey Kong game being made by the Mario Odyssey team, some of those rumors also included that this was not just the entire team, but some elements of the Odyssey team forming a younger team to make Donkey Kong. And so if part of the rumor proved true and we see literal evidence to support the rest of it, then that seems to make the most sense. Now, something else Nash said about what he's heard regarding 3D Mario is that the source for this is the same source that told him about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, while there may have been rumors for years about there being some sort of Odyssey Donkey Kong project, it was going on for years, and many people were in disbelief that this was actually going to materialize, if it was even true. Unless you were me, who was looking at Nintendo's cross-promotional strategies and was continually saying, hey, they are working on a Donkey Kong game, it probably should be 3D, perhaps the Odyssey team is working on it, and it might be coming out around the time of the release of the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World, which is literally exactly what happened. But anyway, the same source for this Mario stuff is the same source that told him about Donkey Kong Bonanza, which would make a lot of sense because this would be information on what that EPD group has been working on. But if you don't want to take my word for it, that's totally fine. Let me show you some of the receipts here. So Nash Weedle on March 17th, 2025, just a few weeks before the big April Switch 2 Direct where Donkey Kong Bonanza was revealed alongside the Switch 2, Nash said Donkey Kong's next game won't leave you indifferent. Now at this point, he was not certain when this Donkey Kong game would be announced. However, just a couple days before the Direct, he said this: "Let me tell you what's happening on the dark side of the web. For days now, folks have been saying that the new 3D Mario won't arrive this year, and yet Donkey Kong will be the star. About the Mario 3D, I can't tell you anything, but about Donkey Kong, I've already been filling you in, and I'm eager to see it." So at this point, Nash was suggesting that instead of 3D Mario to be in the big Switch 2 Direct reveal, which at that point many people assumed would be the case, we got Donkey Kong instead. And so that was exactly correct, and this is significant because it goes to show this particular source has proven accurate before. So if Nash is hearing something about 3D Mario in the next big General Direct, I think we should be paying attention to it. It does not mean that we can be 100% sure this is going to be true, but it does bode really well. Now, a lot of people like to assume that Nash Weedle has fake sources, whatever, even though he'll be leaking things like Donkey Kong instead of Mario in the big Switch 2 Direct. But let me just show you some other examples, just some of many leaks that he's gotten correct before anyone else was really predicting or talking about some of these things. So here, back in October of 2024, keep in mind the Switch 2 wasn't even announced until January of 2025, so a few months later. We didn't have the big Direct reveal confirming this game until April, but Nash Weedle, before anyone else was talking about it, said there will be a special edition of Elden Ring for Nintendo Switch 2. The Tarnished edition was announced on April 2nd during the big Switch 2 Direct. Here, on February 6th of 2025, Nash Weedle said Indiana Jones would be getting announced for Nintendo Switch 2. That was confirmed later into 2025. Another one, Assassin's Creed Shadows coming to Nintendo Switch 2. He said this back in 2024, this was confirmed last year. From this last October, Nash Weedle teased 3 different events, as you see with these emojis here. And so what happened? We got the Mega Dimension DLC for Pokemon involving these 2 different forms of Raichu, hence the lightning bolt, then a blue little circle here, and we got the State of Play, so there's a connection there, and these are in order, November 6th, then November 11th, and then something having to do with a movie, and we get the Mario Galaxy Movie Direct in early December. So that's just another example. And here's another one. Nash leaked that there was a Yoshi game in the works, and just a couple months later, this Yoshi game was confirmed in the September Direct. Here's another one, that Mario and Luigi would be coming back. And a lot of people doubted that Mario and Luigi would even be seeing a comeback because the developer for this series was no more. And yet, Nash Weedle told us that this would be happening, and yeah, we got Mario and Luigi in 2024. And even recently, Nash suggested that there would be some events before the big General Direct. And yeah, we've gone several Directs and still haven't gotten an announcement for a General Direct. So at least in terms of the other stuff, that part's been confirmed so far, like in the Mario Galaxy Movie Direct, the Tomodachi Life Direct, and if this partner showcase is confirmed soon, that will be something else. Now, where is the General? As Nash has said he has heard, maybe the 3rd week of February, and if not, sometime in March. He is seeking clarity. Point is, there's actually a lot of evidence out there that Nash Weedle gets correct leaks. These aren't random predictions being proven true. Most of the things he says are actually proven true. To me, it's pretty obvious if you actually pay attention. If you look at the actual facts, if you look at the actual evidence, Nash Weedle has clear, obvious sources. Does not mean he gets everything right. Most insiders do not get everything right. Most people are in agreement that Nate the Hate, for example, is perhaps one of the best insiders there are, and even he has gotten things wrong. Where's our Fire Emblem remake? Where's our Kirby Planet Robobot? Because they haven't been announced, does that mean that Nate the Hate is not a good insider? No, because most of his leaks are proven true. When you're talking about things before they are confirmed, there is a lot of possibility that plans can change. Maybe things are canceled, delayed, pushed around, changed around. There's so much that can happen behind the scenes. So yes, even if you fully believe someone is a legitimate 100% true insider, you still have to take everything with a grain of salt. That all said, Nash is confident in his source about 3D Mario, and he seems to be confident about this Monolith Soft thing as well. It makes sense for both the 3D Mario team and Monolith Soft to be ready with big announcements, and it looks like we'll be getting them in this next General Direct. Now, the thing that's perhaps a little bit hard to believe is us getting a General Direct so soon after the partner showcase. But let's also consider that over this last year or so, Nintendo has been putting out all kinds of different kinds of Directs, which is something I talked about a lot throughout last year, that if you take a look at the first year or so of Switch 1, there were many different types of Directs because it was a new generation. There are various things to announce, and so I predicted that Nintendo would handle things somewhat similarly with Switch 2, where we would see various different kinds of directs, and that's exactly what has happened. We've seen multiple general directs, we've seen partner showcases, we've seen many different game-specific directs, and even movie directs. There's been all kinds of different types of Nintendo Directs, including what I've been calling the Nintendo Direct Sandwich, where we had the big general direct at the end of March for Switch 1, and then not even a week later, we had the massive super reveal of the Switch 2 Direct. And so while history might suggest that a partner showcase would be replacing a big general, recent history would also suggest that we're not entirely sure what Nintendo is going to do because they're throwing out directs left and right all the time. We just got two, we're expecting another this week, we know we're getting a Pokemon Presents at the end of the month. Clearly we're seeing a giant wave of different types of directs right now. There may be more. But honing in on the implications of these announcements in a big general direct. If we get 3D Mario and Monolith Soft's announcement in a February or March general direct, that would strongly suggest that both are coming out this year. Nash has said he's at least heard that 3D Mario is planned for the holiday. With Monolith Soft, we're not sure. But I mean, if it's getting announced early this year, that gives me a lot of reason to think that, yeah, it would be coming out this year. Usually Nintendo doesn't have that long of a turnaround. There are some exceptions. We're still waiting on a release date for Splatoon Raiders, but that brings me to another point. You would think Splatoon Raiders is coming out this year. And so if you think about it, if this rumor proves to be true, and it does have a decent amount of merit, 3D Mario, whatever Monolith Soft has been working on, be it Project Legacy or a Xenoblade title, Splatoon Raiders most likely, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, the exclusive The Dustbloods, the 10th generation of Pokemon, all that is a pretty big deal. Now, it's also Zelda's 40th anniversary. You gotta think there's gonna be something for that. Now, Nash has said repeatedly that he does not believe there will be any brand new Zelda stuff this year. And regarding the Ocarina of Time remake, which he's also heard about, and you've been following this channel, we've been looking at all sorts of levels of evidence that this project is indeed in the works. We've been talking about it for years. But this Ocarina of Time remake project is not thought to be coming out anytime soon. If we're lucky, it gets teased or announced this year, and maybe we get it next year. So no super massive, ambitious remakes or a new title this year, but there's still gotta be something you gotta imagine. Maybe Twilight Princess HD, maybe a remake for a top-down Zelda game like perhaps Oracle of Ages and Seasons or something along those lines. There's probably still going to be something Zelda this year, as there usually is, and with the 40th anniversary it makes even more sense for there to be at least something Zelda this year. And so when you think about all of that, that's a lot of stuff. And there's still things like whatever Next Level Games is working on, and they're overdue, and many think it's Luigi's Mansion 4. I'm in agreement. Could that also come out this year? I feel like at some point something's gotta give, so I'm now starting to think that maybe Luigi's Mansion 4 would probably be saved for next year if we're getting a Monolith Soft title and 3D Mario and Generation 10 Pokemon in the second half. Maybe Luigi's Mansion 4 gets announced in a September Direct and it comes out March or something like that next year. That wouldn't be too bad, that wouldn't be too long of a wait, but it does seem like we have a lot of pretty exciting stuff here. And I want to talk about something else that I think is kind of interesting here. If we do get a big general in February or March, and they announce 3D Mario and Monolith Soft's next project, that then has implications for what they can do for the next directs. So something that comes to mind, going back to Zelda, while we're not expecting anything super major to come out this year, maybe we do see a big announcement teasing something for next year. Maybe in a summer direct, if they've already gone out the big announcements for this year and they're just giving us updates and specific release dates in the summer direct for the holidays, that gives them a little bit of room to announce something for next year, and that could be maybe the Ocarina of Time remake. I don't think Nintendo would announce 3D Mario and the Ocarina of Time remake in the same direct, but if they announce 3D Mario in a February or March general, then in a June or July direct, they could announce something new for 2027, perhaps the big Zelda remake. And so yes, this is a rumor, and because of how exciting it is, and because we're supposedly getting a partner, I'm trying to be cautious here with my expectations. But I do think there is merit. I do think there is reason behind this, and I am filled with optimism. And if this proves to be true, I think that would certainly be a very strong set of points for both Attack the Backlog and Nash Weedle in terms of their sources. even though they've already shown a strong track history already. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.